Welcome to Talk to Brazil with Tom Rioch, the business connector to business in Brazil. Welcome to Talk to Brazil, the business connection, a leading Brazil business podcast talking about business in the world. I'm Tom Rioch, an American living in Brazil, known for business networking, and talking from my podcast studio in Campinas, São Paulo, Brazil. Today we're talking with Erico Pastana, and he's joining us from his office in Campinas. Erico Pastana is co-founder and CEO of Venture Hub, a startup and technology acceleration hub with offices in Campinas, Brazil, and also in Manaus, Brazil. He is co-director of the Campinas chapter of Founder Institute, a global incubator headquartered in Silicon Valley that helps aspiring entrepreneurs launch meaningful and enduring companies. He's also on the advisory board and a member of the Cover app, a music platform that allows one to play and sing with your idol, removing or adding musical instruments and vocals wherever you wish. So with that, Erico, welcome to Talk to Brazil.
Hi, Tom. Good morning. It's really nice to be here.
It's good to see you and always good to talk with you. For our listeners, we've known each other for several years here through other groups, business groups, and through the Venture Hub.
Yeah.
But Erico, last week I interviewed Marcelo Noble, who's the rector of the Unicamp University here in Campinas. And we talked about how Campinas has the power of attraction for startups and entrepreneurs. And you're an example of that. He mentioned that there are over 1,000 companies which alumni have started in the region, and also that 2 of these companies are the part of the 10 Brazilian unicorns, and they're also from here, from the region. So I'd like you to talk about your experience as one of those companies, and what makes the region special from other ecosystems in Brazil, and what you see as the secret to continued success in our region.
Well, Tom, that's a really nice question. And yes, we have a lot of companies that we call that is Unicamp's daughters, like companies that was founded from people that come from Unicamp, and Venture Hub's one of those, and we are really proud of it. And so why I think that Campinas is a really nice place to start a company and to develop a company, because when I was selecting a place to go to the university, actually, I could stay at São Paulo. That is a city near here, like 100 kilometers, of course, you know that. Mm-hmm. But I chose to come to Unicamp because it was known already at the time for innovation in general. Like Unicamp is one of the biggest innovators in Brazil. So, and then I come and I did my university here, my course here, and when I finished it, we wanted to start a company. So I've tried several companies, several different stuff. I have started some startups, and then we decided to create a Venture Hub as it is right now. And why we decided to do that in Campinas? Once because we were already here, but I think that Campinas is a really nice city.
But when you mention the we is also other friends of yours from the school, right?
Yeah, because I'm talking like a company. So my co-founders are from Unicamp. Mm-hmm. So we have done school together, and we decided to go to the entrepreneurship together. And so that's what we are doing right now. And so, but Campinas is a really nice place to have the kind of business that we do, because we have like not only Unicamp, but we have several universities that generate a lot of great human capital. Mm-hmm. We have like the right infrastructure, like you said, you talked to Marcelo Nobel, but we have from good universities to particle accelerators like Sirius, so in very wide area of technology. Right. And so I think that is one of the things that make Campinas so attractive. And it's really easy because we have several verticals like agtechs and agro, food techs, Industria 4.0 Industria. And and it really attracts other entrepreneurs. Like last year, we have people coming for our acceleration programs from all over the country,
Right.
like from Goiás, from the north, from Tocantins, from the south, like Paraná, and several different states come to create business in Campinas.
Again, that's the power of attraction.
Yeah, that's something that we are really proud of, because we really were able to attract a lot of great entrepreneurs and great people, and then they can start their business here. So,
well, Founders Institute, first of all, you have the people, but Founders Institute has also given you an avenue to funding, right? To capital.
Yeah, of course it do. Founder Institute, it was something really important to us here in Campinas when we were starting out as an accelerator. We brought Founder Institute to Campinas, and we started to accelerate the very early stage companies. Mm-hmm. So they are entrepreneurs. So those guys that are coming out from universities, that are coming to Campinas like to start something, or they want to live in here, not because only of the entrepreneurship, but because of the infrastructure, life quality, and everything, that right. Campinas is a really nice place to be. So when they come here, we must help them to understand that if they want to create a business, of course, in our side, we look more for create like a technology business, right. A high scalable business. They will have help from the ecosystem. So, and then Founder Institute was really good and is really good on that, to attract the best people so they can have a more process and operationable way of creating a new startup.
I agree with you. I've seen that there, and I agree with the word process. I think what Founder Institute brought not only to Brazil, but they have created a process of accelerating. And it's a process which is a platform, and I've seen that persons that have gone through the process of understanding how to accelerate, of how to grow. Because there's a lot of aspects. It's not just one thing. It's not just having an idea. That's a small part of it. I think the rest of what you do with that idea is what the Founder Institute brings.
Yeah, and of course. So, and then what Founder Institute help us to do is like we give the process. So the companies that go through the program get really they grow faster, and they are more prepared exactly to attract funding. Right. Because if we don't have funding, then we cannot grow a company like as fast as we want to. Okay. So, and then when you have that in place, we continue to help those companies with other programs, like for not so early stage, and then have their first round of funding, and then we continue to help them growing. And actually, the Founder Institute was really important for us to develop a world-class process even after the program of the Founder Institute ends for a company. Right. We continue helping. And also, as a partner of the Founder Institute, we were able to go to like a class that is called the funding something, I don't remember, but it gives us the tools to create our own microfund. So today we have our own microfund, and we invest in startups from, like, we are starting this year, but we already invested in two new startups with our own fund, because
I think that's part of your success, because for our listeners, most Brazilians and Brazilian investors, historically, they've been invested in civil construction, buildings. They're not key. They don't really understand funding of technology or startup companies. So I think part of that training was also to train people who have money of how to take that and invest that successfully in these programs.
Yeah, and that's kind of a cycle, because It's a micro fund, so it's not very big, but I think most part of the investors that are with us are entrepreneurs, like entrepreneurs that have some success already. They are mostly from Campinas, but there are people from Japan also,
Right.
There are people from Japan, there are people from United States, but mostly of them are in Campinas. And some of them are family offices that want to invest in startups.
Right.
They don't know how, they don't know the law part, how to do the contracts. They don't
Right.
know that.
Right.
So we create this micro fund, and as I was saying, lots of the investors that are with us are from those companies that are really succeeding
Mm-hmm.
in Campinas, and they are created here. So there are professors from university that created their own company. The
Right.
company grows, and now they are giving back to the ecosystem at the same time that they found a smart way to invest their money.
Well, you've seen that. You've lived in the United States and in Silicon Valley. I guess you saw firsthand. And
Yeah.
there are obviously many stories of in the States where many companies have started in a garage. The same way of friends from school, they started in the garage. For our listeners, most Campinas houses or apartments, they don't have a garage, so people don't start in a garage. But they do start in their living quarters. So I would say Brazilian startups tend to be in their living room of their apartment, of their house, or wherever, or even around the bar, just having a conversation. Whereas in Silicon Valley, most of the pitches are done in the sidewalk cafe. So, and here it's that idea of sitting down, having coffee, and making your pitch is also coming to Brazil. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, it is happening, actually. It is happening because there are lots of, not only venture hub, there are lots of institutions, universities, like research institutions. And like there is something happening here from some years from now. And it's working. Because that's what you say is just happening. As we see in several like big entrepreneurship cities in the world, Campinas is getting to that. So we have a community that talk where people talk to each other about how to grow companies, how to create companies, and we have investor communities. Like I said, we have our own micro fund, and then the universities, not only Unicamp but PUC, that is another big university from Brazil. They're creating their incubators. They're creating their creative spaces, and more than that, I think that we are getting into a place in which big companies are starting to see these and to see Campinas as a place to be, as a place where innovation happens. And so they are starting to, these big companies like, the big companies that we know, the big corporations, they are partnering with the universities, partnering with us. We have lots of clients that come to us to be around where this new business are being created,
Well, so for our listeners, I was there. That where we first started. I spent 3 months in Venture Hub exactly for that. I wanted to feel in touch what that was all about. To try to, because it's really sort of mystical. What is a startup? What is this environment? And the only way you can really know is to sit in the middle and watch.
Yeah, but and we must have those places and those communities, because not everybody that goes to those places and those communities is gonna be an entrepreneur at all. But they must understand that if they wanna go this way, then they will not be alone. And we know that what makes a country in general, of course, the money and the value will come from entrepreneurship. Will come from companies that generate jobs, that generate money, that generate other companies and other jobs, and make the region very attractive so people can be here. Because one thing that we see a lot also is that those unicorns here, they employ around the world, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000 people already,
Right.
But in Campinas, there are lots of people that are employed in those companies.
Right.
And they not necessarily stay there forever, but they get inside, they get a job, they started working, they see what is happening, they have contact with lots of great entrepreneurs, so they form their own knowledge about entrepreneurship. Right. And then sometimes, and it's not rare, sometimes they go out and they try to create their companies.
I think that's the natural cycle.
Yeah, and sometimes it goes right, and if it goes wrong, that is not a problem. They have again. That's something that is happening, And if it goes wrong, they have the university, they have the incubator, they have other entrepreneurs, they have everything that they must have so they can keep going or stay.
You've just reached an interesting cultural point, Erico, because out in the world and in the United States specifically, even in Europe, failure and failing is part of the process. You can meet many entrepreneurs today out there in the world, very highly successful, and most of what they talk about are their failures of how long and how many different things they went to find success. Culturally in Brazil, it's sort of hard. It's difficult for Brazilians to admit failure. It's even more difficult to go ask for funding when you failed. Whereas in the States, they actually value the fact that you failed because you better the probability of success. If you go and you have never failed, you may not get money in the States.
Yes, I think it's changing. But we have to develop that. But
they're all cultural things, and I think that's one of the points, and that's the value that Venture Hub and you and your associates bring. You understand that it is culture. You've seen the cultures outside. You see how things are. You've seen, the path to success isn't easy anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that this is a community job, because if someone fails, then if the community that is already thinking with that mindset of failure is natural part of it, and then he didn't get alone, even though they will be criticized and they will maybe be ashamed for himself, but they have the community that is there saying to him, you that's normal, you can keep going, and I have a place for you in here, you can come to my own startup or my new business. So this is really nice. And we are starting to have also people that have failed sometimes, and they have success now, and they are an example, and they are talking about that. If you see those unicorns that we have talked about, when you see their history, they almost all of them got close to broke somewhere in their journey, because there are some of them is 15, 20 years old. They're not 2 years old startup that got really big very fast. So I think that the two examples that I have in mind, that is Movili, that is from iFood,
right?
And I think CINT, that is getting really, really big.
CINT is all over the world.
Yeah.
They're I think one of the best global examples that we have in the region.
And if you see Cesar Gon speaking about it, you will see his history, and he will say, I almost broke sometime. I almost broke. So this is getting like normal for us, and this is something at Venture Hub that we really talk about, and it's like a support community. I'm not sure about it, but it's like that, So you can get things wrong, and it's cultural, but it's changing. I think that big companies have also a part on it, because they are starting to accept it better, because they want to innovate. They have to innovate very fast. And if you want to go fast, you're going to fail sometime, sometimes.
Well, yeah, no, I think companies have seen that. Either you incorporate technology, or you're out of the game. And that's a fact, no matter how big or how small you are. And what we've seen today, even this last year, is we have very many small business persons starting up very quickly with e-commerce platforms, adapting very, I'm not going to say it's simple, because there is no simple technology, but user-friendly technology to create a business. So it's become a whole different mindset than what it was before.
Yeah, it's much, much easier than it was before. You can create, because you can, it's cheap to create a company. Oh, I will not say that it's cheap, really cheap, but it's not expensive. It's not expensive. You can try things. You can you can go further with less money. I mean, so that's something that is happening, and I think Campinas plays a really important role in that in Brazil in general. I think.
So you see that happening. So the future is bright, and I even see Venture Hub is now expanding outside of Campinas. You're taking the same concept to other parts of the country.
Yeah, I think the future is really bright. Venture Hub is expanding. We are already in Manaus, that is like on north of Brazil, in the middle of Amazonia. So it's like a really big city in the middle of a forest. But it's really nice, and there are lots of companies in there, and there are lots of human capital, because there are universities and everything. So our job there can be pretty much closer to the job that we do here. Of course, there is not the same, because southwest of Brazil is like the richest part of Brazil, so things are different, but we are expanding. And we are starting to look to outside Brazil also. So we are starting to look to Europe, or maybe, well, of course, we're starting doing partnerships, but we want to go there and to see what's happened, and to see what can we do to grow and to make those places better, to innovate and to have great entrepreneurship and to have great startups and everything. So the future is bright. There are lots of problems that we want to solve and that we need to solve, so we can go further and get where we want to go. And I think that 2021, it's time to rebuild. That's how we are talking. It's time to rebuild. It's time to build. It's time to grow. And so, yeah, that's it. I think the future is really bright.
I agree with you, because I mentioned that here, that when many people we've been talking about global economies, global presence. And today you pick up the newspaper or magazine, or you look into the web, and you see companies now reaching out to space. SpaceX, which is a company that started up and now planning planetary travel. So it's a whole different dimension. So there's more than just the world out there. There's the whole galaxy. There's the whole universe. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of things happening. But
and Tom, I think that one thing that it's really nice to think, and one thing that I think Campinas is really nice, because he's a really nice place to be if you are a founder of a company, if you are like the leadership team of a company, because things are really changing. Now we have like a home office, so you can have a company in here that and your employees are from other places, like from other states. So I think that one thing that we have really great in here that Campinas is a really nice place if you are a founder, if you are creating a company, if you want to close to where the decisions are being made in terms of startups and technology. And
well, you mentioned, and for our global listeners, The city of Campinas has more than 1 million inhabitants, 1.3 million to be exact. The greater Campinas region, which is made up of 26, 27 municipalities, has over 3 million people.
Yeah.
And to help bring that into context for some of our global listeners, it's a big piece of the pie. It's not all of Brazil, but the concentration of a capacity, like you said, you have the people, you have the infrastructure. Campinas has a very vibrant highway interconnecting hub system, a world-class airport where from this airport you can reach 110 destinations within the country, and you can't find that anywhere else. So people can come to you because they can get here from 110 different places in Brazil, and people in the Campinas region can get out into the world. So that's important because connectivity is important. The different hubs, we have other hubs being created in the region, and almost any economic activity that you can think about is in our area. We've been talking about technology, talking about education, health, energy, agriculture that you mentioned, anything, automotive, whatever you want to talk about, you can find somebody doing something along that line here. And it's a place that has always attracted a lot of foreign investment. So we have many multinational companies in the region. So it's very strong in all of the dimensions. So, and I agree with you, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, of course. I'm here. So I think it's a very great place to be.
Well, we're both here, and we hope to stay here anyway. So, well, Eric, I want to thank you. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time, but I want to congratulate you of running full circle of from becoming a university student to starting Venture Hub as one of the daughter companies, as was mentioned. You're also advising companies, accelerating companies, and you're also helping these startups become the future successes. So continued success to you and all at Venture Hub, okay?
Yeah, Tom, thank you for inviting me again to be here. I'd like to be invited again maybe next year so we can keep updating ourselves and everything. So it's really nice to be here, and it's a pleasure to talk to you, and it's a pleasure to contribute a little bit with ideas and everything, okay? So thank you very much.
Well, you can bet on that. We'll be back again in the future, all right?
All right.
And I want to again thank you for sharing your time, but also to our listeners. You can find more about Erico Pastana, and his name is Erico, and his last name is Pastana. You'll find him on LinkedIn. And also Venture Hub, which is venturehub.se, venturehub.se. I'd like to thank you, our audience, and our sponsor, Focus MI Market Intelligence. Focus MI specializes in the market research for the Brazilian agricultural market. More about them on their site, focusmi.com. Visit our website, talktobrazil.com. Find our previous shows of Talk to Brazil, which are also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and many more. So remember, when you talk to Tom, you talk to Brazil and the world. Goodbye, and thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Tom Rioch on Talk to Brazil, the business connector to Brazil.